Welcome back to America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys Formula and America's Medicare Associates with Nolan Baker, Curtis Stevens, and Jeremy Baker. No relation. We had a couple of changes there during the break, but that is the crew that we've got right now. Again, 419-794-3030. That is the phone number. The website, arhq.com. It is a holiday staple in my house. But the movie Home Alone came out 33 years ago. One of the many memorable scenes, there are a lot of them, was when Kevin went through the grocery store checkout by himself.
Are those microwave dinners any good?
I don't know.
I'll give them a whirl. Hold on, I got a coupon for that. It was in the paper this morning.
Are you here all by yourself?
Ma'am, I'm 8 years old. You think I'd be here alone? I don't think so.
And it got me thinking, I don't actually know the last time I clipped a coupon out of the paper. Truly a sign of the fact that times have changed. And I know that, in all the years that you guys have been doing this, you've seen a lot of changes in your careers as retirement planners. What are some of the biggest ones?
There have been a lot of changes, and I would agree. I can't remember the last time I clipped a coupon out of the newspaper. I think I get the newspaper if my son makes it in there. Recently, he was in there in the Waterville newspaper for winning a hockey tournament, which is pretty cool to see the Anthony Wayne team in there. But, when we look at some of the biggest changes in retirement, there's a lot of them. And the problem is if you don't keep up with these rule changes, or if you don't work with a firm that helps keep you up with these rule changes, you could be missing out. You could be missing out on a lot of opportunities. This can go on for a long time. For one, I think the example would be, for most financial products, the trend in the industry over the years has been costs has come down. I met with a gentleman named Larry recently and got together with Larry, and we did the portfolio analysis like what we do with everybody. And what I had noticed is that Larry had bought an annuity from, like 20 years ago. And this annuity over the course of time has grown and done well. It's gone up like the markets because it has market exposure. But, what I had pointed out to him is that he was in this contract that, to me, had 20-year-old fees and expenses. So it had a high mortality expense ratio. It had high sub-account fees. It had, riders that were like his death benefit that are really going to provide him no value because his account was worth more than what he put into it. And when you add these fees and expenses up, it was costing him, I think, in the neighborhood of $30,000 to $50,000 a year of wasted expenses when you started pointing all these things out. Because the retirement changes today are most financial products, not all, but most financial products, generally speaking, the cost structure has come down when you look at things that are in the marketplace today. So if you have some older products, think of it like an old car. Old cars are cool. I love old cars. I have a couple collectibles myself. But, the new features that are available on new cars are dramatically different, as well as some of the cost structure is different. So look at your old contracts. The other thing that rules are changing is, one is required minimum distributions. They keep changing the year on when you have to take a required minimum distribution out. And this is one of those areas that it's probably one of the biggest penalties that I'm aware of. So, failure to take the required minimum distribution can result in a 50% penalty of the amount that you're supposed to take out. So I can't think of a bigger penalty than that. The other area is if you have money that's left over and you want to pass it to like your children or what's called non-spousal beneficiaries, the government has done away with what we used to refer to as called stretch IRAs, meaning they can no longer stretch out the taxes over their lifetime, and they've changed their rules the last couple of times as well. We had this conversation in our investment committee meeting, and one of the things that Chaz, a regular here on the show, talked about was how traditional asset allocation is much more correlated today. You have to get somewhat creative on how you're putting together portfolios in today's environment, because what worked in the past may not work today. And he pointed out a good example of that is in 2022, you had both the stock and the bond market did absolutely terrible, where normally if stocks go down, bonds go up because of the non-correlation. It points out that things today can be much more correlated. Things that happen overseas can impact, the U.S., and that becomes correlated. The things that I love is I love the fact that technology makes it a lot easier to try to increase the odds of being successful, also to be able to identify weaknesses in a portfolio. We have software that we use, and I know that you've put it into your practice, but what it does is it allows you to create an investment policy statement for a client. It really helps you kind of pinpoint the level of risk a client's going to have in normal market conditions. You can identify, what is the typical range of returns, which results in, how often does the client win versus lose and the win-loss ratio. It gives you those statistical numbers that allows you to try to optimize the portfolio to achieve better results. And, I'd love some feedback on what you're doing with that. But before, the final thing that I would say is the other thing that's different right now in this environment is I would say fixed rates are back, baby. Fixed rates are back. And, when we think about it, it's the highest that it's been since my children have been born. So it's been decades that we had this record level high. And so, for a retiree may now be a perfect time to build up your backup plan, to reallocate some money into some of those higher fixed rates accounts and, and lock in some of the higher rates because, as the Home Alone movie pointed out, we're not clipping coupons. And the last time I saw my grocery bill was significantly higher than the first time I saw Home Alone. So things are getting a lot more expensive. But what do you guys see? What do you think are the different changes that you're seeing, Jeremy, when it comes to retirement today?
I think technology is really one of the biggest ones. I think one of the things that separates how we look at financial planning hasn't changed much. I think we're unique to the fact that we get together with folks and see, number one, if we can help them, number two, if they want our help. And then the second step is kind of gathering that information and putting together that data and the risk-aligned software you mentioned. And then we can put together a financial plan and which really itemizes what their goals and objectives are and how we see those things kind of coming to fruition. And I think the technology definitely makes that much easier where the process is still kind of the same, but it's able to be sped up by the amount of technology that's available to us.
Fellas, I just want to say I used a coupon about 3 months ago. I think you're leaving money on the table. You might want to reconsider your priorities there. No, biggest changes, definitely technology. Look, what we're trying to say, with the Chat GPT and all this crazy technology coming out, we're as close to having a crystal ball as we've ever been. But we can't predict the future. We don't know what's going to happen, but we can run it against what would your portfolio look like in COVID, right? We can run it against things that have happened and really tune it in to meet expectations, which is what everybody's scared of, not getting what you're expecting. So that's the power that the technology is really bringing to the table. And so that is a huge change that I've seen. I always focus on being tax efficient. So just always like letting everybody know you can bump up your Roth contribution coming up too, just a little bit. Other than that, great job, gentlemen. I think you covered most of it.
In all fairness, I did use a coupon over the holiday season, but it was a digital one on my phone, so I didn't cut it out of the paper. It's a little bit different. And to focus back on what Nolan said there, Kevin's bill during that grocery store run was $19.83. I did the math because working with you guys has made me do this. This year, that same grocery list would have cost $72. So the times have certainly changed. You want to make sure your plan changes accordingly when necessary, not making changes for the sake of making changes, but knowing, again, when those moving parts need to happen. And that is the beauty of having a plan with the team at America's Retirement Headquarters. Not set in stone, can move when necessary, but it comes back to, once again, having that plan to get started. 419-794-3030, or go to the website, always available day and night, arhq.com.